Well, I mean, like of this paper, like because there's multiples, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but it just seems like this is like this number right here, 128, seems to be like letter 128 of whatever this.
Got it.
Topic
Okay. That actually makes perfect sense. So this is like almost like addendums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
So maybe that 08, 18, 04 is like a lot number. And the 128 is just like one paper that's a part of it.
Right.
Yeah, well, to me, to be honest, it was more the things that have kind of appeared inside. That's why I said if you're going to try and fold it into like, if you want to try and present this way of figuring things out to a scientist, they're going to ask you to leave. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, because this is not a way to go. I can't follow that as a scientist and say, okay, I get what your methodology is.
Right. You can't say I saw something spray painted on the ground and I Googled it.
Exactly. It doesn't work. Well, exactly. But what I discovered, and the reason that I keep mentioning, so I have some friends who are scientists, and they all unanimously, separately, told me, you need to remove this from your story. Even the people who saw the code, scientists who saw is like, you really need to remove this part from your story because it hurts the
spray paint part.
The spray paint part, and this whole thing that I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
Right? They say it makes you, it immediately makes you tune you out. Like it's automatic. Mm-hmm. And I get it.
Yep.
And it is even correct to do in accordance to the way we do things in science.
Right.
It has to be repeatable. I have to understand every step of the way of what you've done. And I need to be able to repeat it exactly this way, and I need to be able to extrapolate something universal from it. In other words, you have to explain to me why you think that these specific numbers mean anything. Do you have some kind of a reason to follow these numbers? Like, what is the function behind the fact that you think that these numbers represent something, right? What is the theory behind it? Unless you have that, you just sound like an insane person. And I agree. However, what seems to be the case, and I only much later realized this, is because I think that we understand everything this way. It's just that we usually take the credit for it. So what I mean by that is that we have a set of intuitions that then lands on a particular concreteness of what we understand about the world. But so you have to have a set of understandings first of like certain things, and then you make extra conjectures on top of that. And it's like, well, what works? This works, this works, this works. You do a lot of guesswork, and then you have a way to test for a particular set of the guessworks that you come up with. So there's one branch that seems to be promising, and then you follow that branch and you test it in the most rigorous ways you can possibly think of. Mm-hmm. And if something checks out, most of the time nothing checks out. That's how it works. When something checks out, you're like, great, okay, I'll follow up. And then you build on top of that. The fact that something checked out told you that this was the correct direction. But the whole time, you were following a thread that was not random, but it was something that you were basically conjuring all the time. You were like, well, what can it mean? There's like this infinite possibility pool, right? And when we dial it into a more a narrower and narrower channel of guesswork, we call that science. You know what I'm saying? So the difference between a rule of thumb, which is like, I know that when I build a door with this kind of arc without measuring the door, and then you try and like align it as much as possible, and eventually it works. You're like, that's a rule of thumb. You're like, well, I kind of know when it looks like kind of like this.
Okay.
It works, right? And then you can even, you can teach your son this, and then that's basically what an expert back in the day was before we had measurements, right? You just kind of like, well, I know, I have a feeling that this should work, and then your experience of that door with that arc exactly like that is, right? When we discovered calculations and mathematics and how you measure angles and all that stuff, it stopped being guesswork, it stopped being a rule of thumb. It became more scientific because you can put numbers on it. Okay, so that's really the only difference. It's a major difference, but that's the only difference. Notice that, what people repeat, which is like the double helix of the DNA, even I think it was the first Intel chip that we figured out how to do the exact engineering of the way that the chip is constructed. All of this came in one case a dream, the other case is an LSD trip. And this happens all the time. People get these eureka moments out of nowhere,
right? And
they already have a set of experience, a set of expertise, on top of which this now eureka moment comes on top of, and they're like, okay, I get it, right? So this is important because the reason that I can't remove this from the story is because that's the truth about what put me on the path of searching for that thing. And if I remove this part of the story, I'm lying.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a very important clarification, because I think that ultimately what matters if something actually checks out. And because if it would lead to nothing, we wouldn't be here talking about this. And I would just go, just keep living my regular life. But because I followed this exact way of trying to do things, that's what eventually led me to the laser. And it does put me in a little bit of a hot seat, because, again, it's like, it's not clear why this works. If I have to give it my best guess, is that there is this actual information about how things are that is constantly floating around. And we are essentially just picking them up, almost like a radio, right? And then if we can take that and we can apply it to something that works in our space, in our three-dimensional space, we call this a discovery. Because it's applicable, it's functional, you can do something with it, all of that stuff. But ultimately, this element of the guesswork is always there. And I don't want to minimize it, because I think that the intuition part of it is important for something much deeper than we yet to understand, which is our relationship to the world, what is consciousness, how consciousness is, and what it is in relationship to the world. All of these things are very important to consider if we are to understand what the world really is.
So how did you get from these papers to this diffracted laser?
So now that I gave us a little bit of the background of this, so this coupled with the number 42 started following me like crazy, right? So we're in these botanical gardens talking about the plants, why green, why red, blah, blah, blah. Great. Stepping outside, until that point, my now fiance, she never seen this kind of stuff in action. She only heard me talk about it. She knew enough about me that it's fine. She doesn't have to leave me. And then we step outside. It was a very hot day. It was like 115 degrees. So I'm calling an Uber to go back to the hotel. And she crossed the street to stand under a tree in the shade.
Okay.
Call the Uber, cross the street, come and I hug her. Oh, and that feeling that I described to you about, like, yes, look there. When I thought about that idea and something told me, yes, look in that direction.
Yeah.
Okay. The same feeling was in me when we were in the botanical gardens. It was like, yes, look there. Whatever it was about colors and plants and whatever that was.
Okay.
We step outside, call the Uber. She's under a tree, across the street, come and hug her. I hug her, I look down, and I'm like, Kelsey, look down.
Stressed about the holidays? Bring some calm into your life during this holiday season of shopping madness with Via. I will be embracing the natural power of legal cannabis this season with Via. If you haven't heard, Via is very well known for their award-winning hemp-based gummies, vapes, topicals, and calming drops. I've been taking their gummies and I love them so much I've been giving them out to all my friends. I like to break them up into quarters and then microdose them throughout the day. If I take a quarter in mid to late afternoon, it enhances my focus. I can sit down and complete a task or read a book. And then late at night, I'll even do up to a half or a whole, and it helps me fall asleep quicker and doesn't affect my REM sleep later on in the night. Via legally ships to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging with a worry-free guarantee. Via's hemp extract is perfect for relaxation and rejuvenation. Via is the only lifestyle hemp brand. They use compounds found in hemp along with active plant extracts to create products with specific effects, so you can get a tailored experience. Whether you want to ease anxiety, enhance your mood, or just get high. And if you're not into THC, that's okay. Not all their products have it. Their CBD products, one of my favorites, are designed for sleep, focus, and energy too. They are experts in hemp extract and using it to get the effect you want naturally. Their products range from 0 milligrams to 100 milligrams of THC, so these guys have you covered whether you're looking to microdose or enjoy more of a potent effect. Via is handcrafted in the USA with no harsh chemicals and A/B tested and certified hemp. And they've won awards for customer service with over 500,000 people served. This holiday season, gift yourself some peace of mind. If you're 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description. For a limited time during the holidays, Via is offering 25% off site-wide, plus up to 50% off select items and bundles. And if you're hearing this ad and you've already bought Via, you can still save by using my code Danny for 25% off. After you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them, and please help support the show and tell them we sent you. Enhance every day this holiday season with Via.
And I still have the picture of her cracking up.
The number 42, spray painted right under her feet.
The same color. The same color, because it's not always in this color, what Department of Water and Power writes. The same color. And this is now 2 or 3 years after, I think. So now we follow the street. The number 4, I'm not going to do this now, it doesn't matter. But I mean, if somebody wants, I can always email them the pictures, I can verify it. We searched, and the number 42 repeated twice, like one after another, and there were no other number to repeat it twice. Wow. So, what did that tell me? So this is a great example. What do you do with this, right? From a scientific perspective, this is one person, or 2 people in this case, having some kind of a joint delusion about something mattering or something meaning something, right? But from a first-person perspective, I'm aware of all these biases. I understand them. Like I get it, right? And then at the same time, I have this thing happening to me constantly. I'm telling it to this other person, which happens to be my loved one. We have this experience together. You can either just say, "Oh, this was funny," and walk away, or go, "Okay, wait a second. What is it telling us?" 42 follows me every time I'm kind of like on the right track, from what I understand. Great. She's standing in 42. She's a key somehow. She's supposed to help figure this out somehow. That's what I understood. Okay, and we were talking about it together in the botanical gardens. I went, okay, and then we started, and this is where, again, I'm going to disappoint you here, because this is still a thing that I'm going through all my pictures and all my files and trying to figure out exactly what the moves were for the film and all of that. I don't remember exactly right now, but we basically went on this rabbit hole together that whole day, going through different papers, and she's also, she did a lot of research back in college, so she knows how to do this quickly. We're like, we go through all these things.
Yeah.
And we land, the thing that kept on popping up towards the end was diffracted light, coherent light, so laser, 650 nanometers, 650 nanometers. It kept on repeating again and again in different papers that we found. I was like, okay. I didn't know what I meant. But I think we're supposed to get a laser. Now that was during COVID, so you couldn't really get a laser, ironically, anywhere from other than China.
So 42, you were searching for 42 in research papers.
No. 42 was just a sign that you're on the right track. If you want to follow this line of thought.
Okay, got
it. That's it. Yeah. Then we kind of started thinking, I started showing her the other papers, and through that together, we started going through all the other papers.
I see.
Again, not applicable to an actual scientific method, right?
Right.
But we're doing it, we're playing. We reach at the end of this crazy funnel, whatever that was, we reach these conclusions, which is it's supposed to be diffracted light, it's supposed to be 650 nanometers. Don't know what that means, just order a laser. Cool.
Okay.
Can't find a laser, only in China, because it's COVID, ironically.
Yeah.
And it took it 3 months to get to us because of COVID, right? Everything was backed up. Got to me eventually, and also the only laser I could get is the ones that you have to kind of wire and do all that stuff.
Right.
You couldn't just get a laser pointer.
There's nothing like this.
Well, this is essentially the same laser inside of the box. It's just that we already put the circuit and everything inside.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is what I was... If I show you the original models, they were hilarious. They were just looked so janky and crazy. So anyways, I ordered this laser. There you go. That's what it is. Look at the original beam, how wide it was.
Oh, wow.
See? And this is kind of this is what it looked like. You had to get this, you had to solder this thing. I try to put microscope lens on top of it. I played with all kinds of ideas for it. This is a really wild one.
They make those ones at Home Depot you can get for people that are trying to cut stuff.
You can't use that.
You can't?
No, most of them are too powerful and they are too narrow and you don't have a way to make it wider. So it's too concentrated, you're not going to see anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, by the way, I don't want to waste any time on the podcast, but I really want to show you how wild the 42 was. So I don't even know if you will understand what's going on here, but this is me sitting in front of on my desk, in front of the window, and just working, crossing my legs. And I'm looking at the window, I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I'll show you
what is that you're looking at?
Yeah, I'll show you.
A piece of luggage?
No, I'll show you right now. You won't be able to see just by twisting it. I'll show you. It's crazy. This is we're not talking about on digital clocks, right? This is what it's reflecting. Look. This is a reflection that I'm sitting crossing my legs. That looks like 42. Look what it actually looks like.
Your pants?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's wild.
So shit like that, right?
Yeah.
So then, so I ordered the laser. It comes. I solder the thing. I turn it on. I smoke DMT. I see code in the surface. So in that instance, actually, maybe not that seriously, but maybe a little bit. I thought, oh, it's a schizophrenic outbreak. Because numbers are talking to me. I'm searching for this thing, right? Like delusions of grandeur, right? And now I'm seeing this thing. Also, I was in the beginning of my 30s, maybe like mid-30s, I think it was. So that's kind of the age where it happens, if it happens. You know what I mean? So it kind of matched. Now, I knew myself enough to know that can't be, because I felt normal. But there was a real possibility that crossed my mind. But then I started showing other people.
How did you know to get like right up close to the wall and like look into it?
Oh no,
like
I just saw it from far away.
You saw it from far away?
Yeah, I just saw it right away. Yeah, I just saw it right away. It was a little blurry to me because I didn't. But I saw something. I saw like these like some kind of a letters or code running or something.
Yeah.
And then I already had like a long set of experiences that were very realistic. But that was a different level. That was like a different thing because it just looked normal.
Yeah.
And then everybody started seeing the same thing. And eventually it just got to a point where I showed like almost 100 people. It was like 80 something people. And that's when I was like, all right. Then I started emailing scientists. I actually emailed Donald Hoffman, which were, I never get to tell him fully what it is. I mean, I think soon I probably will, but he was going through like a major, some kind of a medical procedure, and he was recovering. He actually reacted. He responded. It was very nice. But then he was like, well, I'm just recovering right now. And he gave me the list of all his PhD students. He's like, here, this is the people that are, under me, and they're very smart people. You should talk to them, whatever you want to say. I felt like I need to talk to him, not to them. But anyway,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, now take yourself through writing that email. What do you say, right? It's not that easy. Like, hey, I discovered, code in them.
Sure. How many different scientists did you reach out to?
Maybe 4 or 5. It was, spacing on his name right now. Gary Oldman. Oldman, yes, okay. Right. The guy who studies UFOs. He's a cognitive scientist. Yeah. And Donald Hoffman. Did I reach out to Bernardo Castro? I think maybe I have. Nassim Harmain? How do you pronounce his last name? You know? Okay. And...
No, you talked to Gallimore.
And Gallimore. Yeah, and I think I reached out to Gallimore.
Okay.
And Gallimore I actually met later. Actually went and met him. He recently was also on my podcast. Super nice guy. And... yeah, so these are the people I reached out. Maybe actually a few more. But the point is that I was trying to basically go through this, like talking to scientists at the same time showing to people.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, well, it wasn't really getting a lot of traction. It was just kind of like people...
Yeah, what were their reactions? What were their initial reactions to it? You're saying, hey, I smoked DMT, I looked inside this laser, and I'm seeing...
No, I never got to that. I basically told them, look, I have strong reasons to believe, if I remember the wording of the emails, they were along the lines of, I have strong reasons to believe I found something very significant. Well, I actually reached out to David Deutsch, which was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would love to just take 10 minutes of your time to explain something like that. And we never got to the point of like me actually telling them what is the process. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was really interesting because David Deutsch, he's a really known scientist. It's kind of like very famous.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and then he was one of my biggest influences as far as like how to think about these things more concretely, but still with an open mind. And I reached out on Twitter, now X, and he actually texted me back right away, and it was like, well, you're gonna have to make this more publicly known, and I'm sure that others can help you, but at the moment I can't help you. That's what he said, which was interesting. I mean, why would you even?
Is he tied to like a big academic institution?
Yes, but I never told him the specifics. I think it's just that I'm not known enough. I don't have like a whole track record of accolades running in front of me. I get it. Like it's not. There was never like hard feelings. But then I decided, okay, well, this is important, and also I can't I don't know if I can figure all this out by myself. I need to get people's attention. So the one thing I did know how to do a little bit is to make content. So I was like, well, I'll just make a video about it.
Right.
And it's the only time in my life where I kind of had some respect to authority, because I usually don't have a lot of that. And I basically asked inside the DMT space, I was like, is it okay if I talk about this? And the reaction was...
Inside the DMT space?
Yeah, I was basically, well, just like the frog dude appears, there's someone there.
Oh, you went there and you asked him.
Yeah. I was like, hey, is this okay to talk about this? And the reaction seemed to be unanimously, oh, this is not like a secret. This is just like, it's there. Like, if you can figure it out, you can figure it out. We can't tell you anything, but if you can figure it out, great.
Okay.
So then I started talking about it. And at first on YouTube, it didn't really get that much traction, but it got me enough attention from people that started inviting me to like different events to kind of talk about it a little bit. And that's where the journey really kind of started. I went to Costa Rica. I was invited to this event to talk about that. After that, I met a lot of people through that. Started talking about it more. Put out the second video. And then eventually, somebody convinced me to do a TikTok video, because I was really not into TikTok. I was, and I didn't know this, but on TikTok, actually, things go viral a lot easier and with a lot bigger scale. And I have to say, I was actually surprised with how well-intentioned most people on TikTok are. So you know that the different platforms, they have like a different vibe of whatever that is.
Oh yeah.
I was really surprised. Yeah, and when the first video went viral on TikTok and it went to a few millions, that's when it really kind of started kicking off.
That's weird, because I've never even thought to engage with any or even read any comments on TikTok ever. It's too fast. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and there's a lot of noise just like everywhere else, especially because there's a lot of interactions. But I found personally the most kind of like balanced interaction of people that are genuinely interested to engage.
Right.
And on Reddit, everybody just wants to voice their opinion, right? It's kind of like this very opinionated thing. X is similar, and I guess it's more mainstream.
Yeah.
X is almost like a mainstream Reddit, basically. And YouTube is just a longer game. Well, it's a longer arc, right? So you have to really kind of like put in the work and put in the years, and eventually the algorithm starts to actually...
YouTube, the comments on YouTube are more of like a competition of comedy, I've noticed.
That's funny.
Because the best comments that people like the most go to the very top when you're looking at it.
Oh, I see. And whomever is the funniest.
They're ranked from like the most people can relate to it, or maybe the funniest.
Got it.
So I feel like that's... Yeah, you're right. There's a very different sort of attitude and vibe to the comment sections, and the way people engage with this platform.
Yeah. So my surprise was that on TikTok, at least, it was clearly where people like truly engaged in a way of like, okay, what is it? Like, tell me. Like, I want to understand. Instead of just immediately vomiting whatever it is that you think.
Yeah.
Of course, there's that as well.
Right.
But I had a lot of people that genuinely kind of reached out.
Okay.
Right. So anyway, so that's when I kind of started getting a little bit more traction, and I think that's around the time where Aaron Venden, the director who is now we're working on this film together with, he reached out because he said that he saw some of my interactions on Reddit and he liked the way that I was talking to people. So then we, he's like, hey, I want to do something with it. And then a year after that, we met up. We started kind of reconstructing what all this whole thing is. By then, there was already kind of like this thing going where there was these communities and people were talking about it and people making lasers and exchanging notes.
So people on Reddit were trying this experiment on themselves?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Not just on Reddit. Everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think now the reason you and I are talking is because of Aaron's work, because he put out this trailer on the film that we're working on about this. And that's when I made it just available on YouTube, but I was actually